Today happens to be Good Friday, and I want to talk about the resurrection and that we die and resurrect many times. We should not wait for the last day to be resurrected. I came across this book, an apocryphal book, one of those books which were banned from the Bible and which were hidden in a cave among the Dead Sea Scrolls. And in that book, it is the book of Philip, where it says that those who think that they will die and be resurrected are in error, that we resurrect many times. In other words, we die and we resurrect many times. So, I had written something on my Facebook page which I'm going to share on an experience which I had about dying and resurrecting again. And I want to share it with you guys because it is so profound. How I thought I died and resurrected like the phoenix, and how we all do. Those who say that they will die and be resurrected are in error. They must receive resurrection during their lifetime. This is from the apocryphal gospel of Philip. I like to cite my stories as a way to inspire others. This one happened just recently and I'm still recuperating from it. I never really like to fast. I'm sure no one really does. But it is necessary if you want to deaden the flesh and give way to the spirit to blossom. So during the fasting season of Ramadan by the Muslims, which coincided with the fasting Catholic Lent season, I thought it would be an auspicious time for me to join the faithfuls of both religions. Now, I think it was Socrates who said, an unexamined life is not worth living. So from time to time, I always try to evaluate my life, especially at the end of every day, to make sure I am living the best life to the best of my ability. And I believe that the spiritual, emotional, and physical must be in alignment. So in examining my life, the passage of Apostle Paul always comes to my mind about the thorn in the flesh. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 6 to 10. And you see, many of us have something like Apostle Paul's thorn in the flesh. So I would like to read this passage. Even if I should choose to boast, I will not be a fool, because I would be speaking the truth. But I refrain, so no one will think more of me than is warranted by what I do or say, or because of these surpassingly great revelations. Therefore, in order to keep me from being conceited, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So every time I came before the Lord about this particular thorn in my flesh and pray and fast, I would always get this message, which I just read. But this time, I begged him that I wanted to fast to remove the thorn. And I had tried to fast during this period, but it just wasn't working. I could not even bring myself to fast, though I was seeing the signs everywhere that I should. So this time, God answered me. I remember the way he came to me in spirit and said, are you sure you want me to get rid of this thorn? I was like, yes. The next question was like, are you sure you are prepared to do what it takes? I was like, yeah, come on, let's go, I'm prepared. Before this, I remember a book I read some years back. I can't remember the title, but it was about an author who wanted to write a book but just could not get himself to do it. He met an elderly fellow who was quite rich that often tended to a rose garden. There was a white rose plant at the center of this rich man's garden, which this old rich man particularly tended to. And so in the book, it seemed the rose plant was synonymous with this young author. In the book, the old rich man did something to the young man that made him paralyzed so he could write this book. It was only after he became paralyzed that he finally finished the book, and the rose plant and the center of the man's garden blossomed. As I said, I can't remember the title of this book, but it's something I read years ago. And it kept on coming to my mind. So that book kept on coming to my mind just before God asked me if I was really prepared. He told me it was going to be a deep process that will weigh me physically down. It will be so deep, it would get to the mitochondria of my cells and rock me mentally and spiritually. And I was like, yeah, come on, let's do this. Or more, no be small thing will happen after. That evening, after grooming my dog, I was feeling quite well. But not up to 30 minutes, I just noticed there was this cool breeze that just came by. And suddenly, I started feeling feverish. I thought it was a joke because, it just came suddenly. At first, I didn't think anything about it. But it got progressively worse. And at night, I noticed I could not even move. Now, I hardly fall sick. I do a lot of yoga. I lift weights. I do nature walks. And I do a lot of breath work exercises. If I ever fall sick at all, the most I have ever is maybe a flu or a small fever. And within a week, even without finishing my medications or even taking medications, I always bounce back. But this sickness was different. I just noticed that that night, it was as if all the blood in my system just froze up. I could not even feel any oxygen in my head. I could not feel glucose in my brain. And my body just went numb. It was as if all life had just been drained from me. To be honest, I thought I was dead or probably paralyzed. How I managed myself the next morning is something else. The next morning, I just noticed I could not even walk. I was shocked. The only thing I could do was communicate in sign language to my wife. My wife was scared because in our 20 years of relationship, she had never seen me like that before. The next morning, how I managed to get into the car for my wife to take me to the hospital was a miracle. Immediately I got to the hospital, and after my vitals, the doctor said I should be admitted immediately because I had typhoid fever and a high dose of malaria. I stubbornly refused to be admitted because I was like, Haba, a homie. No way. I can't remember the last time I was admitted to a hospital. I thought I could shake it off. And after I took the medications and the prescribed injections for a few days, I will be okay. I can't remember the last time I even took injections, maybe over 20 years ago. So the nurse was terrible. She injected me in the wrong section of my bum. It was so painful that my ass was swollen and I could hardly walk. As at that time, and my situation got worse. Eventually, I had to be admitted into the hospital. To be honest, I thought I died and came back to life, as it was one of the most traumatic, one of the worst sicknesses I've ever experienced in my whole life. All the while, during this traumatic experience, I could hear the words of comfort of God's Spirit informing me that it was part of the process of rebirth. And so after about 2 weeks, I started getting myself back. And then I read a book I had been postponing for years, and I had a profound mystical experience while I was recuperating. I realized that indeed God resurrected me back to life. In retrospect, I think that's how life is, that many of us come into this world to cleanse our souls. But sometimes we forget that it was part of our soul contract for our own betterment. Many of us, as the cleansing is going on, wail and complain. but only if we could remember that this is what we asked for, and that we should allow the process to heal us and learn the lesson therein. If we're able to do that, we'll eventually come out anew. So indeed, I concur with the apocryphal Gospel of Philip, the disciple of Jesus, the Christ. Those who say that they will die and then be resurrected, that is in the last day, are in error. We die many times and receive resurrection. If only we realize this and understand the process, we'll be better for it. Just like the phoenix, we die in our ashes to be resurrected from it. I wish us cosmic illumination and peace profound.